Thank you guys for coming. As he said, this is Battle of the Work for Hire Studios. Basically, the point of why we wanted to do this is because there are so many fantastic game studios out there who are doing work for hire projects. And a really important part of making sure that you can secure those projects and do that type of work is being able to properly pitch your idea for that game and convince the company you're trying to work with that you're the ideal partner for them. So what we've done to illustrate what an awesome pitch really is we've taken two phenomenal game companies, Plexonic out of Armenia and Large Animal Games out of New York City, and we've pitted them against each other to make a pitch for a fake game called Space Penguins, which I'll tell you a little bit about. And the winner is going to be chosen by you guys, who is going to get your business, and that person will get this penguin sock puppet as well. Yeah, very exciting. Thank you for the energy. So the game is, and this is all of the information I told them, this is a mobile and tablet game. It's single player. It is called Space Penguins. It is a tower stacking game about penguins who have left the US to find a better living habitat in space. And so with that, I will turn it over to our first competitor, Wade, out of Large Animal Games.
Thanks, guys. So the first thing we did when we got this concept, as we do anytime we get, we're dealing with a new IP or a new theme, is we just really immersed ourselves in the subject matter and tried to learn everything we could about it. So we learned from the great penguin scholar Morgan Freeman that penguins are docile, defenseless creatures. They huddle together in large groups called rookeries for warmth and safety. We also learned that the adult penguins regurgitate partially digested krill and mackerel into their children's mouths. We also learned that their arch enemies are the snow leopards. That's their #1 predator. And this was actually shot by a penguin wearing a GoPro camera. And we learned, above all, that it really sucks to be a penguin. And if they're not battling the snow leopards, they're dealing with global warming and the rapid disintegration of their habitat. And we also learned something that surprised us and we weren't expecting at all, which is that the body of former US President Ronald Reagan was actually cryogenically frozen and has been stored in this secret underground bunker in Antarctica. So that really surprised us and it really helped pull our concept together quite a bit. And that concept is Cold War, Escape of the Penguins. So when Ronald is revived by the penguins, he quickly realizes that they're really facing an impending catastrophe. And he encourages them to act immediately, and he instructs their chief penguin scientist, Dr. Gentoo, to devise a way to get all of the penguins off of the surface of the Earth and to build a habitat on the moon. Well, Dr. Gentoo is completely flabbergasted by this, as you can plainly see by his expression, and he says that's impossible. There's no way, it's utter madness to try to do this, let alone in 14 months. But Reagan, with his Hollywood charm and his questionable economic theories, and he charms the penguins. He's incredibly persuasive, and so Dr. Gentoo is inspired. And he quickly rounds up his crack team of penguin engineers, and they get to work prototyping. And so they begin devising a mech penguin that will allow them to escape the Earth. And they go through countless prototypes. So the Galapagos Mambo is discarded, because it's deemed too polar beary. The Humboldt Fury, the Chinstrap Danger, all of these have different problems with them. They just don't feel quite right. They don't pass muster. Even Sergeant Stomp, they throw out. Finally, after 10 months of sleepless nights and just pulling their It's not hair, but anyway, they're very frustrated, and eventually they land on the solution. And that solution is a piece of technology so sophisticated that it takes not one but two penguins to pilot it. And this is Big Bird. Big Bird, totally analog, powered by mackerel. Anyone seen Pacific Rim? Okay. And it can lay specially hollowed out ice blocks with which to build towers, residential towers. So with barely any time to spare, the whole colony loads into Big Bird and they make their way to the moon. They land on the moon and they immediately start building a place for them to live. It's very inhospitable, even more inhospitable than Antarctica. So they begin lowering these blocks, and you can see that the blocks have kind of tunnels hollowed out within them. And as the player starts to connect blocks, the penguins that are waiting, they just fill in the blocks. They'll fill in any available space in the blocks. And the player can just tap anywhere to position the next block. They're lowered by a tractor beam, so they can be placed anywhere. And they can also use the arrows on Big Bird's belly to choose the next block. They can swap between the current one and the one after it. Now, whenever penguins fill in the blocks, if they reach the end and there's no next block to go into, they'll kind of float out into space, and so the player needs to circle them and pull them back to the ground so they can get back in the line. Otherwise, they'll just float off and be lost forever. Players can also remove a block, and that's useful for tightening up your structure, but it also means you'll have to capture more floaters. But little do they know that while they've been developing their technology, their arch enemies, the leopard seals, have also been developing a very advanced beak-seeking missile system. And they discover, with just moments to spare, that missiles are on their way. So while they've been building structures to live in peace and quiet, the missiles are coming, and they have just a few seconds to finish their structure. Any penguins that are not inside the structure when the missiles arrive will be lost forever. A tragic end for the colony, a victory for the leopard seals. So on each level, there's a minimum number of penguins that need to be saved to successfully beat the level, and then there are different thresholds for 2-star, 3-star performance in order to encourage competition and replayability. And so as the penguins, each time they thwart the leopard seals, they move further out into space in order to get farther away and hopefully not have to deal with them anymore. And the leopard seals continue in hot pursuit time after time. And so as they're traveling, Dr. Gentoo and his team of penguin engineers are coming up with new ideas for enhancements. So blocks that have wider tunnels so that they can fit more penguins, blocks that are lined with some sort of mackerel film so that the penguins enter them more quickly, a giant inflatable penguin that is a decoy for the missiles from the leopard seals, and other enhancements, all of which to actually build them and install them will take time and money, as all projects do, and that's where in-app purchases come in for the player. So this goes on. The player, as they land on different planets and asteroids, those different atmospheric conditions lead to new challenges and variation on the core mechanic. The leopard seals are also developing their technology further, which increases the challenges for the player. And ultimately, it's up to the player to help the penguins escape. That's our concept.
Fantastic. So that was Cold War Penguins with Wade. Keep that one in your head. Think about if that's your winner. And we have one more to show you, which is Gevorg and Arbach from Plexonic.
So my name is Gevorg, and I'm from Plexonics. I will present you our vision of this quite tough concept that Jill suggested to us, space penguins, how to make a game out of this, right? And let's start from presenting you our characters. This is a penguin family, which is actually, we think, should be in center of the story and the gameplay. And as you see, we choose quite cubic style to have them, and they're drawn as cute as possible because, you know, as everyone loves penguins, especially for their cuteness. We try to emphasize this quality of penguins. And this is Alice's mom, Danny, Flora, and Peter, the father. And let's go to the tragic story that they are getting into. As who thought that global warming is true, right? And it occurred to be true, and Antarctica is melting. So penguins are in trouble, and they are living in Antarctica in such residential cubes, and the only choice is to leave the Earth. And it occurs that they have quite sophisticated technologies to use, and they decide to live. And their homes are capable to fly, and they take off, and they leave the Earth. And as you see, like, we are stressing out this cubism approach, so everything is designed to be quite cubic, and we think it adds some cuteness to the game and emphasizes its stylishness. And they found a new home, and the new home's name is Pangora. And they start to land and populate it. And this is the comics that actually we make out of this story. So we are often using comics to present the stories in our games. It's something actually our players like very much. And now, of course, let's get to the most important part, which is the gameplay. This is the map, how we see it. So the idea is to land those cubes in different locations, and higher you get the cube, the more penguins you can actually accommodate in this residency. So, and it's quite cold planet, you know, because, you know, penguins like to be in cold, so it's a lot of ice, and we try to also make it quite appealing for the theme. The map of the game will look like this, and the multiple levels, different segments of levels, different challenges will come in different parts of the map. And here we try to make an animation of how the gameplay actually will look. And this is an ice cube trying to land, and the challenge of the user is to tap it at the right moment to drop it as precisely on top of the tower as possible. And this is, of course, you know, the main principle of tower stacking games. You see that actually on the right side there is a green bar, which is actually will be the fuel meter for each cube. So you'll have limited time to tap and land the cube to the tower. And this is the another view of the gameplay. So here there are some cube-styled chickens actually being obstacles for you to actually making it harder for you to drop the cube to the tower. So each level will consist of a specific amount of cubes that actually you have to stack, and some cubes you will lose eventually because of not precise landing or hitting obstacles. Here's another vision of a gameplay. So they can be three towers, three columns, and each column has a color. So your task is to actually land cubes, like green cubes onto the green column, and other colors on appropriate towers. Yeah, we believe that actually in such games, variety in gameplay is very important, because it actually clears out the it makes user experience for the players to be not monotonous, but be even more fun. So we try to play around this as much as possible. There can be some bonus levels like these, collecting virtual currencies, like, you know, it's quite a classic approach. And of course, social aspect is that you are going to use your friends' help. If you play connected to Facebook, you will get your friends to actually drop some cubes for you precisely on the tower. So actually you are going to appreciate having friends playing with you very much. It will help you a lot. And this is how the results screen will look. So penguins will give you some stars, and there are going to be leaderboards for how good your friends did on the same level. The game will be working as landscape, as portrait on devices. So we think it's very important. So users can play on any orientation of device. And we are going to have lots of great boosts and like extra fuel for your cubes or extra cubes to actually have some insurance if you lose some cubes in the gameplay, or laser pointer or anti-chicken. And of course we thought about what we are going to feed penguins, and I think sushi is the appropriate choice here. Yeah, and yes, this is it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So as you can see, two fantastic pitches. We were actually talking earlier that we thought we were creating a ridiculous game, but actually now we really want to play both of these. But you can see that they're completely different, and in the pitch process that can definitely happen a lot. So now their fate is in your hands. It's time for you to vote on who gets the project. Is it the Cold War penguins, or is it the world of Pangora? Okay, so show of hands for Cold War penguins. Okay, show of hands for Pangora. All right, I think it's for Cold War penguins. Woo. Congratulations.
I thought you had it.
May I present you with Ronald Reagan?
Thank you, thank you.
So we have a little bit
This
of
made
time
it all
left.
worth it.
Oh, I'm so glad. We have a little bit of time left if anyone has questions for either. Go ahead.
Without knowing what the target demographic for the audience is, I just thought they were really strong games, and I couldn't decide which was better. You know, for something I would play, it would be the Cold War Penguins, no question about it, but I wouldn't really put that out in front of the audience that I'm used to typically designing for. So, can you say anything to that?
I think they both did a fantastic job. You're right, we didn't specify who the audience was, and it's interesting to see what direction they both took it in. We could put both out and see who plays both.
Yeah, I mean, typically we would want, that would be my first question to a prospective client, but this was not exactly a perfect simulation of the RFP process. Honestly, we just tried to have fun with it in this case, and you know, every RFP process is different, and so you are playing to the audience as much as anything. So in this case, we were thinking about the audience of game developers and just trying to have fun with the process.
That is actually a good question. Are there, to both of you, are there specific questions that you guys typically ask at this stage in a pitch process to the people that you're talking to?
You mean questions we ask our clients?
Client, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If in such projects, of course, it's very important to understand what client want to achieve, right? So, what's target audience? What are specific? What is a specific niche they want to take with the game? and it influences the game concept a lot. In this particular case, we actually didn't try to pitch to the audience, and we tried to make actually a real game pitch. So, yeah, we saw it as something actually so we answered these questions ourselves the way we would want to get answers for those questions. Like we usually we develop games for more broad audiences, social, casual games. So we actually targeted exactly that audience.
Yeah, the other thing would be scope. I mean, which is always a hard question to get answered clearly, but one develops ways of of getting at it. So yeah, anything that helps us pitch something that is within the right ballpark, we try to get answered up front.
Great.
Hello, thanks for the presentations. That was awesome. I was wondering, how specific are your clients' requests? You know, what's the proportion of clients that just say, "Oh, I have this idea, but I don't know what it is," and you know, compared to the number of clients who have a very elaborate idea of what they want built specifically? I'm just curious, you know, what that breakdown is.
Yeah, I mean, in our case at least, and I think it's different with every client, but in our case, usually they're just coming and saying, here's our IP, you know, we want game concepts around that IP, and then we talk about the properties of the IP and the demographics of that target audience and what the business goals are, you know, whether it's a marketing objective or a revenue objective. And then we go away and come back with ideas. And sometimes we'll go through a kind of funnel process where the first step would be to throw out, you know, 3-sentence ideas in volume. Like, here's a dozen ideas. One is, you know, an endless runner with shooting. One is a tower defense game, you know, and just kind of see what sticks, and then take a couple of those, maybe do a one-page treatment, and then settle on one and do a full proposal. And that way we make sure that we're not going off in left field and missing the mark entirely.
Yeah, as Wade said, it happens differently with every customer, but usually we get a request for specific genre and actually are asked to come up with a concept ourselves, and we like it very much, and we're very strong at it. Sometimes it's a specific IP that they want to be game built around, but mostly it's just a broad definition of genre.
What are your biggest challenges dealing as a third-party developer working with your clients? What kind of issue? I mean, what kind of issues do you run into that you find to be the most challenging? That, you know, and possibly even a follow-up would be, how do you handle those? What's your approach to handling those?
Yeah, I'll take this. So I think the biggest challenge while working with a third party is to speak the same language, and very often the sides actually don't have good enough communication established, and so the client sometimes doesn't know what he wants and communicates wrong stuff, wrong information. And when something's delivered and they say we want a totally different thing to be produced, and the biggest challenge is actually to establish this communication in a solid way, and actually we try to meet and talk with our clients, you know, as often as possible. Meet each other in person, like limit the communication through email to minimum, and actually brainstorm together, and actually have something that actually we all are happy about before even starting production. Also, the challenge is, of course, is to not work with every customer, right? And I mean, it's not a challenge, but I think it's a principle of ours. So some clients will actually even have a big budgets for projects, we don't work with, because we see that the perspectives are not so bright, so the outcomes were not so good. So I think work for hire students should know how to say no, right?
The one other thing I would add to the challenges list, I agree with everything Greg said, but is just being asked to do proposals that never go anywhere. So like this was actually kind of refreshing, because at least I knew up front this is never going anywhere. I mean, we spend so much time working on proposals and getting excited about them and putting a lot of effort into developing pitches, and the team gets excited about it, and it's not only a high financial cost, but kind of a high emotional cost to doing that. So we've gotten much more careful about just trying to vet whether or not there's a real project there, and like how many other studios have they thrown this out to? Is the person in the organization that's throwing it out actually a decision maker or close to decision maker? Is there a real budget? And but yeah, that's something to watch out for, definitely. I would say in the simplest kind of blanket answer to the challenges question, like once you're in a relationship with a client, is that it's all about managing expectations. And I'd say most of the issues that come up ultimately come back to a failure to do that. So meeting in person on a regular basis, talking, showing a high level of transparency, showing working software at very frequent intervals, talking openly about development challenges and unexpected changes in the schedule, or things that you didn't think were going to be as challenging as they were. All that is super important. And even if it's painful and awkward to do, it's just really important to do it right away when it happens.
Great. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you for participating in this battle. Have a great rest of the show.